I'm here with my friends Sam and Ashley. You want to introduce yourselves?
I'm Ashley Barkin.
Sam Massaro.
And we were all at the Route 91, better known as the 1 October shooting out in Las Vegas, the biggest mass shooting in modern day history. And like, we've all became friends out of that. I've known Ashley a little bit before that, through a mutual friend, but Sam I've met through the whole incident, but we've never talked about any of our, like, what we've seen at the shooting and what our, perspectives were, how we felt about it, nothing. So this is us, our first time talking about it and getting to know each other's stories. And so, like, thank you guys for coming on, and I appreciate it. Cheers.
Cheers. It's our pleasure. Thank you for having us.
Absolutely.
So, I guess the first question would be, like, if you guys want to talk about your stories. So you guys were there together, right?
We were there together, but we weren't together when everything went down.
Correct. Yeah, it was a similar story. Mm-hmm. So, what part of the concert were you at? Like, what part of the venue?
So, the whole thing started with she had tickets to the whole thing. I went there the Saturday that Sam Hunt was playing. Mm-hmm. I actually ended up scalping tickets. Didn't even know if I was going to get in. Scalped tickets. Met up with her. We went and enjoyed the night or whatever. Next day came back. I think I went a little bit earlier. I went and saw Kane Brown and whoever else was playing during the day.
Yeah.
She came and met up at night, and then. She actually, I think, got backstage, if I'm not mistaken.
I was backstage just before everything happened.
How did that happen?
I had a friend that had a pass, and he took me with him, and it was a good time, And then I came back out. Actually, I was trying to find him when everything went down, and he had his Jets hat. As I was looking for him, he had his Jets hat in the air, and I was on my way. And then we were probably maybe like 20.
She could see the hat. She said, "Oh, I see your hat." And all of a sudden,
and then it was chaos.
Pop, right?
You're the only Jets fan in all the.
Yeah,
that's why I raised the Jets hat up. That's exactly it.
So we were probably only like 25 feet away from each other. We were, if you're facing the stage, we were to the right, pretty close.
We had some other friends there too.
Yeah. So the crazy thing is, that's exactly where I was.
Yeah,
like where that sound box is, like that big old black box next to the gate. I was like maybe a little bit in front of that to the right,
same.
Yeah, we were right there,
maybe 4 or 5 rows back from the stage.
Yeah. So that's crazy. So that's another thing. It's funny, like when you talk to people, like you realize like how close you were to the other people that you met, but you would never have known that until like afterwards. Mm-hmm. So it's cool. I like those stories. Well, I mean. Technically, it's not cool because technically that's like one of the worst places to be. Mm. So we were in the line of sight.
It's a silver lining kind of. It's focusing more on like we wouldn't know each other probably if it wasn't for something like this. And there's a lot of probably 100 people that I can say the same thing about that. They're the good that came out of a lot of bad. So that's the way I look at that.
And that's what I like to think about it too. It's like to think about the positives, and then there's negatives, and there's different people who think differently about everything. But in this case, like I love all the people that I met a a lot of people. Like there's so many people that sometimes I have to like keeping up with names is like hard, and I'm like,
same. It's amazing. Like you said, it's a silver lining. The community that, even though we went through this tragedy together, the community that's came out of it, and the friendships and the bonds that have been made are like incredible. It's insane.
Now, so when the shooting started happening, like where did you guys end up going?
I ended up. I haven't talked about this in a minute.
Sorry.
No, you're good. I'm ready to talk about it. That's why I wanted to do this. I was with my friend Shella, and we ended up like on the ground for a minute, and then she was like, we have to go, like we're sitting ducks, and she like pulled me up off the ground because I was frozen, and we started running, and we were holding hands, and then I lost her, but we just both kept running. We went backwards, so not towards the main exit, but like back towards that Nashville tent. Mm-hmm. And I ended up losing her. She ended up at the church, and I was stuck in the venue. I like hid out in the Nashville tent for a minute, and then I got stuck kind of behind all the trailers that were lined up against the gates that were off of, I believe it was Reno. Yeah. Over there, and I couldn't figure out how to get out, and so I ended up jumping a fence onto Reno, and then I ended up in the Hooters parking lot. and they were still shooting when I was in the Hooters parking lot, so I was ducking behind cars, and then I ended up somehow through MGM and to the California Pizza Kitchen in the park. I have zero idea how I ended up there, but I worked there. So that's just like mentally, I just think I was like, that's where I know how to go, and I just ran there.
Yeah.
And I really don't remember how I even got there.
Yeah, I went a similar way. So the first thing that happened is there was that big old metal gate right there. There was a guy that was behind the gate. And then so we were down. At first I was like naive about it. Like I was standing there, and then this guy, like, he just dropped. And I was just like, oh damn, that man fainted. Like he's drunk. Like he must have fainted. And then another person dropped, and then my friend who was in front of me, very quiet girl, very quiet, looks and she sees that the first guy who I thought fainted, and she sees it bloody, and then she screams. And then so when the shooting starts happening again, like we all jump down, and then I started having like almost like an argument with the guy that was like on the other side of the gate, and he was like, get down. I was like, no, it's like I know the initial like sound is coming from my right. I thought it was like more Las Vegas Boulevard, and that there was maybe a shootout with cops or something like that, and that we had to get down for, you know, crossfire. And then so I was like, there's that gate is like cover, let us get over that gate. And then so he's like, all right, come on. So I helped a couple of girls over the gate, and then I was climbing over. First I got trampled for a little bit because people started running back. So I got, my nephew was like trying to get me up, and then he, like, I told him I couldn't because I kept getting hit, and then so he just left. And then so when I got over the gate, we jumped, like right when I was climbing over, I heard more shots, and it seemed like it was never ending. Like it was. Oh no, like,
yeah, it went on, and it was exactly like we were on the ground probably for 3 minutes, and it felt like my whole life. And then even to, like, I felt like I took a long time to get out of the venue after I hopped the gate. But even while I was still on top of the gate, like while I was hopping the gate, he started firing again, and I was like, here I come. Like I was ready to just be like shot off of the top of the gate.
Yeah, and when that happened, I was on top of the gate and I dove off and ended up injuring my back. But then I just went and grabbed my friend, and we kind of hid behind the sound box. And then once, like every time you just get that brief like in between shots is when we started running. And then when I jumped up the gate, I knocked the wind out of me. So I started running, and I first thought I was shot because I just know that I'm running, and for some reason I can't breathe. And then so I went from, remember we used to get water like during the whole weekend? It was like that little water fill station. So I ran that way towards Reno and then towards that church. I made phone calls. Like I was making phone calls to my friend D because I was with his wife, and he was at the last preseason game for the Knights. Okay. So he was the host, so he was there. So he's like, you know, watch over my wife. And then so we were all tired. This is third day. We're all beat. So she went to like the VIP area, and I was with my nephew, and I was like, we're gonna, like, everybody kept on saying right of the stage, and that's weird. The whole day, oh, the right of the stage is the best. The right of the stage is the best. So we went there, but the rest of the weekend we were on the left of the stage.
Same.
And then so it's just weird that like I ended up being there at that day. Like out of all the nights I could have been there. So I called him. There's still gunshots in the background, but I felt bad because I'm like, I don't know what happened to Leah, and I would be like devastated if something happened to her for any reason. And then so when I ran to that church you were talking about, jumped it, got one of those, like, they're like kind of spiky, but not, it's got like a round end, but you know how it kind of like looks like spears. It got in my leg, and then somehow I made it from there to Hooters. I ran to Hooters, and if you went into Hooters, like we were sitting there for a little bit, we kind of felt safe for a second, and then someone runs in, there's a shooter. And then so we ran out the back, and I ended up hiding with these 4 of the girls underneath a staircase for like hours because we just didn't know. And that, you know, and I'm sure you guys feel the same way at the time. It didn't feel like one shooter. It felt like a terrorist attack, like almost like was just all over the strip, taking out like everything. And my friend, I was on the phone with Kevin, and he was on the police scanner, and I was like, this is the only man I'm talking to. He's on the police scanner. He's got the heads up. I was the worst person to talk to because every report that went in that there's a shooter here, shooter there, shooter here. Yeah. I'm like, we're on the stairs. Turn, like, put your phones on silent. People come out. Don't even say nothing. Don't answer your phone. Like nothing. Like, we're safe right here. Like, once you hear that door, just don't. Like, none of us need medical attention. None of us are shot. So just just keep cool. Like, just don't do nothing. So we were there for a long time.
Yeah,
Wow.
I was. I remember like bits and pieces. So when I went over the gate, and I was in the Hooters parking lot, and he fired again, and I just remember seeing like so many people like ducking behind cars. I saw a minivan that's like grabbing people and throwing them in like the sliding back door, and I was at that point I was by myself. And so I think that's why I just ended up retreating like to where I worked. And I remember going through MGM, and I remember being laughed at because I was obviously a mess.
Yeah.
And there were other people in there too in the front, like in the lobby, that were there also. And I don't recall seeing anybody that was hit in the lobby. But after I got to CPK, I remember like I was freaking out, and all my coworkers didn't know what was going on at the time yet, because it was just like within the same like 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And I told them what was going on, and then actually like other people from the venue ended up in CPK. It was wild, and one guy was covered from head to toe in blood, and it wasn't his own. And I ended up actually hiding in the walk-in because I was like, this is probably the safest place, and I was just in the walk-in, and everybody was like trying to make sure I was okay, and I was like, you need to get everybody away, because like at CPK everything, it's the garage doors, it's glass, the front door, it's glass. So I was like, you need to get everybody back, like get everybody back into the kitchen, get everybody away from the doors. And then I just like went and hid. And my parents ended up actually meeting me there kind of at the same time, because when, I don't know how I did it, but literally as soon as the shooting started, I called my mom, and I was like, hey, like they're raining fire on us, and I love you, and I don't know what's gonna happen. And I was on the phone with her the whole time. I was sprinting. And so she just heard everything, and so they were already on their way before I even got out of there, so they ended up meeting me there. So luckily I had that also at CPK, but it was just like, it was wild to even think that, as I remember, like I literally pulled my phone out as we were like ducking down to the ground, and then everybody formed like a human chain and dropped together in the section that I was in. Did they do that for you too?
It felt like domino. The way I
Yeah,
it's dominoes.
It was like everybody just kind of grabbed each other and just kind of like slowly started like going down. And I somehow, like, I remember just being like this, and I was on the phone with my mom, like telling her I love you, and like I'm probably not gonna see you again.
Yeah.
And then so they ended up meeting me at CK, but it was just crazy.
And that's the crazy thing is like, it's just how much everything scattered, you know. Like everything went from, you know, this one venue to, like you said, park. Like you went on a journey. Like,
yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm like, how did I get there? I have no idea.
If you went from the Hooters all the way through MGM through Park, if anybody knows how Vegas works, that's like you went like a big horseshoe, pretty much. So I had parked at MGM, so like later on when I finally, it was probably like, you know, like 3, 4 in the morning.
I was gonna ask what time you got out of there.
Yeah, because they locked everything down. All over, because they were saying there were shooters at Aria, they were saying there were shooters at MGM, they were saying they were everywhere, and it turns out that wasn't the case, but nobody
What's
knew.
your guys' thoughts about that? Because people like still to this day think that that was actually going on and that they just hit it.
I don't
Like,
think
into those
that's,
conspiracies.
I mean, there's plenty of theories out there and legs to some of them. I don't think that's a good one, just because there's so much chaos going on at the time, and there's so many, you have people running from the venue all bloody and everything, running to MGM. Now you have people in MGM scared, now they're scattering, running to New York, and all these people are scattering, saying shooter, shooter,
exactly.
when it's all coming from the one place. So I really don't feel like that was the thing that made me be like, oh, maybe this thing there's more to it.
Yeah, exactly, and that's exactly how I was thinking. It's like people are running around scattered, screaming shooter, but nobody's saying, because I've heard multiple different stories about people like the guy flipping off. You know, they're all flipping off. Like we didn't know it was coming from Manly Bay.
No,
I didn't know.
No.
Like
I knew it was coming from our right.
That's it. Yeah.
And then that was all I knew.
And then eventually you were able to see the bullets ricocheting off the ground and going, oh, this isn't coming from the street. This is coming from up high somewhere.
Yeah, you can see it.
I didn't know where, but I knew it was coming from up high somewhere.
Yeah, and that's the thing where it's like all those things are just, it's crazy. It's how everybody ran things and stuff. So
what was your situation?
Yeah.
So as we said, I was on the phone with Ashley we were trying to connect with each other. And then I remember any old Barstool ending, and I remember the couple of shots going off at the end of any old Barstool.
So I didn't hear those.
I did. I have a video on my
speaker.
I'll show you. I can show you guys afterwards. My Jamie was recording it, and she's recording it, and I go, "What the hell was that?" And then any old Barstool ends, and when she said "baby" starts, and as soon as 3 words into when she says "baby," all of a sudden it's way more than just pop, pop, pop. And there's a girl that's literally she's 1 row in front of me, 1 person to the left, so say maybe 3 feet in front of me. I can grab her with my left hand, like you guys said. She went down. I thought she fainted. Just kind of looked like she crumbled into herself. You think of someone getting shot in like the movies and stuff like that, and you think of people getting like blown back, and it just wasn't anything like that. She literally just crumbled into herself as if she fainted, and then her boyfriend, her husband, whoever he was, picked her up, and when he did, her head flung back, and when her head flung back, there was you could see the bullet holes in her head, you could see the blood all over her face, and the little buzz I had going on at the time was no longer a buzz. I was very much sober, and it was a very real situation, and I kind of like turned around to see where I could go, and there's 20,000 people behind you, so there's nowhere to go. So then I just kind of like, I remember some guy being like, get down, and I just got down, and then it was just like, I felt like 100 people on top of me at that point. But I was like at the bottom of the pile, and it sounds so horrible to say, but like I felt safe because I was at the bottom of the pile, that I was able to like peek out and like all right, what the hell is going on? And as I'm peeking out and seeing what the hell is going on, that's when I'm seeing the dirt hitting, the dirt flying up, and me being like, oh, this isn't a shooter coming from Las Vegas Boulevard. This is something coming from up high somewhere. Right, exactly. I had no idea where, but it's funny that you said the sitting ducks thing, because I had never heard you say that before. But that's exactly what I was like, guys, we're sitting ducks. We have to get out of here. And as soon as there was a break, I remember just working my way out of the bottom of the pile and just getting up, and I said it one more time, and I just took off. And as I took off, the shooting started again, and people were falling down left and right. I think they were just scared that the shooting started, and they were just ducking. But I was just, at that time, I was just running in a zigzag because it felt like the right thing to do. And the only thing going through my mind was, I hope he hits me somewhere where I can keep going. I hope he hits me in the shoulder or the arm or somewhere, because it didn't feel like at the time, I hope I don't get shot. It was like, I'm gonna get shot.
Yeah.
I just hope it's somewhere where I can keep moving to get somewhere safe.
That's what I said to my mom too. I was like, I really didn't think that we were getting out of there.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Especially where we all were, like that
right side. Right, that right side was a battlefield. It was a war zone.
Was the girl that you saw get hit, was she blonde?
Yeah.
Okay, because I saw her too. That was like, in her, like, did her husband be like, she's like, did he scream that?
I don't, honestly, it was kind of like almost like a tunnel vision thing, or like there was just like a ringing in your ears, and all of a sudden like things just became super real. Like I couldn't tell you who said what or anything, because nothing mattered.
Nothing.
I was like, all right, how do I get to safety at this point? And everybody was going towards the entrance, and I remember being like, I don't want to do that. If they're funneling people somewhere, that's where they're doing it. I'm gonna figure out some other way out. Yeah. So I ran out the back, and luckily the gate was already pushed open, so I didn't have to hop anything or anything like that. I had actually pulled a hamstring playing softball literally the weekend prior. And like I was like hopping around the festival like all weekend, like limping around the festival.
This is true.
I have never moved faster than I did in my life. Than that, the pulled hamstring didn't matter. Adrenaline is very real. Adrenaline's super real. Yeah. Tunnel vision. I had never actually experienced tunnel vision until then. But I zigzagged out of there. I ducked out. I got out the back gate. I was running by myself down Reno, which was the darkest, scariest street at the time. I was like, I don't know.
It's still like that. It's still sketchy.
But I was like, I don't know who's gonna pop out of any corner of any time or anywhere. But I ran down Reno, and I ran through the Tropicana parking lot, and I ran to the Hooters. I don't know how we ended up by like the laundry mat like side of Hooters, like we like forced our way in. They tried to like not let us in, like, what the hell are you guys doing? And we're like, no, you don't understand, you're letting us in. And we got in, we went to the casino, and there was already, by the time we got to the casino, there was already 200 people in there. Like Danny said, at some point, somebody came around the corner like, oh, there's a shooter, he's coming. So that sent everybody into a frenzy. I remember going out to the Hooters pool, actually, because I remember, at the time, I remember seeing an episode of Mythbusters where if someone's shooting at you, right, exactly, and you go underwater, the bullet actually disintegrates underwater. So that was I was like, all right, this motherfucker comes, I'm jumping in the pool and let's see what the fuck happens. But luckily he never came, and I got back out to the parking lot, and I called my parents, and I said the same thing. I was like, hey, there's a terrorist attack, blah blah blah. They lived about 10 minutes from where we were at the time. They got there in probably like all of 4 or 5 minutes. Like they got there so quick.
Yeah, my parents live 35 minutes away from the strip, and that's why I'm still trying to piece that timeline together, because they got there so fast. Like they were already in the car before I was out of the venue. So I think that's what it was, because I was like, they practically, I can't remember if they were already I think they were already at CPK by the time I got there. Like it was crazy. I don't know. That timeline is still very blurry for me.
My whole pathway is blurry to me. Like I know I went from where we were, and I remember where I ran out, but how I got to the church parking lot and to the Hooters parking lot, I'm still like, I don't know which way I took, where I went. Like, I was just like in survival mode.
Right.
And then, so when I got to the staircase and I was finally out, and I ran by the pool area too. So there's a bar, like right before you go out the doors to the Hooters pool. I went through that bar area, and I went to that exit door that's to the left as it goes by whatever is attached to the Hooters, like that hotel, or you know what I'm talking about, those like little back doors to the parking lot. I went to that parking lot for a little bit, and then that's when I saw 4 girls against the wall, and they're just kind of hiding with their backs, and I was like telling them, I was like, don't do that, because if anybody comes through the parking lot, you're wide open. And then so they were scared. They were just, we don't have no man with us. Can we go with you? So I told them, yeah. So we ran into, that's when I took them to the Hooters, and we went into the stairs. And at that time, this isn't, I don't want to sound like a sexist thing, but as a man, like I felt like I'm with a bunch of girls that I have to be tough. I have to protect them. I can't show weakness. So I was just sitting there, like just trying to talk to them. I remember there are conversations though. Some of it was funny because at first, because they were freaking out and they didn't see nobody die, I don't think. So when I saw the first person die, they freaked out, and I was like, okay, no more talk like that. So I just started talking to them like, hey, who'd you come here to see? Like, who was your favorite person to see? I was like, obviously not Jason Aldean. So like, who? And that might sound like an asshole thing to say, but I'm trying to.
You gotta calm them down in this situation, yeah.
So I was like, just trying to make them, kind of like laugh and stuff. And one of them was like, so underneath there's these little buckets underneath the staircase, and one of them was like, I got to the restroom, and I was like, well, if you don't feel safe going out there, like, if you have to shit in a bucket, this is the one time you're not going to get judged for it. So they started laughing, and I was like, if anyone, I know how girls like to go in groups. There's 2 buckets, y'all can hold hands, do your thing. And then so they kind of laughed, and then so it was just kind of a way to like make the situation a little bit better. But I remember the first thing I did. So when I finally got away from everything, and now I'm back, back home, and then I lost it. Like all the emotions, because I had to hold everything in. So when I held everything in, it all came out. And then I remember it was like 6:30 in the morning, and I decided because my son was with his mom, and his mom works at Hooters. So I was like, at first I was trying to call her, like, hey, are you safe? Are you okay? So she was home. So I called her in the morning to talk to my son, and I just remember he was getting ready for school, and he was like, hey, and then so I was talking to him, I hit mute because I was just crying. I thought I'd never hear his voice again, and he would never hear mine. So he didn't know. So I just remember just saying hey buddy, how you doing? Getting ready for school, and then just hit mute and just was losing it, and just try to keep, just unmute, just try to suck it all up and just answer questions and talk to him and have a normal conversation without him thinking what's wrong with my dad.
What's wrong? Yeah.
So it was hard.
So it hit you about 6 a.m. It sounds like like the day of.
Yeah.
Because for me, it took a couple days. Like it was all like a blur. It was like numb until like literally the Wednesday afterwards. So it took like 3 days for it to like actually hit me. Literally, like I was Monday morning. I was at work at 8 a.m. and they were like, "What are you doing here?" And I was just like, well, I'm scheduled to work. And they, were like, no, go home, go do your thing. So I beginning Monday, Tuesday off. I went back Wednesday. They're like, no, you need one more day. And I worked on Sahara and like Rainbow, and it was right on the corner from the blood bank. Mm-hmm. And I remember leaving like, all right, if they're gonna give me a day off, I'm gonna do something productive. Like I'm gonna go to donate blood. Like, as part of this, I'm gonna go donate blood and do something. And I drove to the blood bank, and the blood bank was literally, and I'm not exaggerating, the line was a mile long. Yeah. Like the line was literally like going blocks away from where the blood bank was, and I literally I didn't even stop and give blood. There's a little dentist office that was I don't know why I remember it was dentist office, but there was a little dentist office on the right hand side. I just literally pulled over in that parking lot, and I cried for 20-30 minutes straight, like non-stop, just bawling. And that was the moment that like it really hit me, like for whatever reason, how real the situation was, and what we just went through, and how thankful I was that we were still here, and et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
Yeah, the outpour of support from
everybody,
from the community was, it got me too. I think it took, so I was pretty in shock. Like I got home, I think it was like 3:30. Obviously I was upset, I was crying, but I think it took me a couple of days to like actually like process what had happened and like to actually let everything out. And I went to, because I work, as like I said before, I work at the California Pizza Kitchen, so I was scheduled to work, and I took like a few days off, and then when I went down there, I think my shift was at 10, and I went down at 9 because they set up like a memorial situation across the street, and I went there, and I lost it. Completely 110% lost it. I was on the ground bawling, and everybody that was at that memorial wasn't at the concert. They were just there like to show their support and everything. And this one woman, I'll never forget her name was Edwina, and she literally drove down from, I honestly don't remember where she drove down from, somewhere, I want to say like Northern California or somewhere up there, and she drove down just to be like a supportive person in that situation, and I just like lost myself in this woman's arms completely, and she just let me do my thing, and then I ended up going to work, and then I think I ended up going home. But it was just wild to see how many people actually like cared that happened to us in the city, and thousands and thousands of flowers lined up on the median, like across the street, on between us and like Mandalay Bay, Luxor. That median was just covered, and there were people that were standing, like they took shifts, like 12-hour shifts, to keep all the candles lit for everybody. I remember speaking to somebody, and they're like, oh yeah, like we take turns because we want to make sure everything stays lit at all times, and that there's like support here 24/7. And I just thought that was incredible, and I just like lost my mind.
Shout out to all the people that were like that, and Greg Zanis, who's no longer with us, but he's the guy that did all the crosses. And stuff like that in a time when us three in general and the whole town is reeling. People like that can really mean a lot in that situation.
And that's when Vegas Strong was born.
That is
after that.
That is.
And another cool thing, like something I think about that's kind of cool, it's gonna sound horrible, I would say unique about our mass shooting is the nights. It's like their last preseason game was during October 1st, and then so they literally started their entire season with their city like becoming Vegas Strong, and in the morning and stuff, and then they go to the Stanley Cup.
No, yeah, they started off like I think 4-0, 5-0, 6-0, something like that. They had a great.
I think we won like the first.
Whatever.
It's crazy. Like
they went on a streak that no one was expecting them to do anything, and
they broke records.
They broke records, but I mean, maybe we're biased because we were there, but it definitely feels like they've like kind of fed off of the town. They fed off of the town being down, and they said kind of, hey guys, let's go honor these people. Let's go honor this shooting. And it's so funny to say it like that, because I understand it's just sports and it's such a small like part of life. It's really not a very big important part of life until you put in situations like this that it kind of rallies everybody around a situation just because of a sports team. And the way that the Knights lifted Vegas, I mean, it was incredible.
Sports teams unite people for sure.
They do. It doesn't matter where you come from or your background, anything like that. If you're a fan of the same sports team of somebody that can be a complete opposite person of you, like you have that bond. And he'll attest, I'm a psychotic Knights fan, but it is. And I mean, I grew up and I loved hockey. I've always liked hockey. I've always watched hockey.
I was a Dallas Stars fan first.
You were a Stars fan?
Yeah. I'm a Dallas Cowboys fan, so then I was like, I like Dallas Stars. And they had like, Mike back then.
Yeah.
Was just killing it.
I'm still an Islanders fan. I'm still hoping for an Islanders Knights Stanley Cup.
Yeah, I am. I definitely... Like I said, I loved hockey, but I never had like a team. I lived in Colorado for a while. That was the first pro team I ever went to. I grew up going to Wranglers games in Vegas, but I never really had a pro team. And the fact that the Knights came along, I was super excited because I worked down there, so I was already really pumped. And then the things that they did for the city, I go to so many games, and I have attended pretty much every single playoff game with the exception of COVID. The COVID year, we'll call it that. I have attended almost every single playoff game because I refuse to not, because what they did for us, like I want to be there for them.
Exactly.
And I'm one person out of 18,000 people, but I don't care. I will support them until the day I die because of what they did for our city and for our community.
I'm sure.
And that's why I'm crazy. I'm a crazy fan.
I had already had decided in my head, like when the Knights were coming, I was like, I'll root for them, but I'm still an Islanders fan. Like I'm an Islanders fan first and a Knights fan second. Like that's fine. And then all that shit happened, and then the way that they embraced the situation, really, the way that there's the banner hanging, they retired at 58, all the names were on there, just the way that they really embraced the situation, the way that we all three of us were there at the night skate that they did for everyone that was at the 1 October thing. Like they really, they wanted us to come together for them.
They could have just been like, that's really terrible, but we're just here to play hockey. And instead, each and every one of them went out into the community and they did events, and then even at the arena they did their thing, and it's just like, that's incredible. And like Vegas will never forget that, and that's why we're such, like, we were already going to be really big Knights fans, and it was going to be a hockey town and blah blah blah, but that unfortunate situation intensified it tenfold. Like the city will never ever forget that. Like they can lose every single game, and honestly I feel like the majority of people won't care because what they did for us, it's insane. So,
and there's like no other team out there that could actually even say that. So that's another thing too, because I saw your post about the abs and stuff. How they were
actually went viral recently, by the way.
Yeah,
I wasn't trying to.
Because they were hating on Vegas fans, and they were acting like people don't understand that Vegas everybody's from different places, so everybody's fans of different things. Like, when the Knights come here, like you're gonna support the Knights. You live here now, like that's gonna be your team. And then what happened? It's like you said, it's gonna like intensify it tenfold. So when that happens, and then you see these other people just like hating on it, it's like you don't have a bond with your team like we do,
right?
So
see, I don't mind.
It's all respect.
I don't mind any of that shit. I don't mind the haters. I don't mind the people that be like, oh, like you didn't earn it. You're not real fans. But I don't mind any of that. But what Ashley was addressing in her post was there were some comments made that were of not good taste regarding the mass shooting, and how there'd be another one referring to the hockey game because he thought it was cute and funny or whatever. But then he went on to clarify even more about how disgusting of a person he was, and it wasn't a good look for Avs fans.
I remember the best shots that taken in Vegas were out of a Manly Bay.
Exactly.
I just got chills when you just said that again, because it just like fires me up so much. I was so mad. I'm like, you can talk shit all you want. Everybody thinks that we don't deserve it and whatever, and that's fine, or that our entire fan base doesn't know anything about hockey. But like, we've had a hockey team here since 1968. So
I mean, did you ever go to the Thunders games?
Thunders, Wranglers. Like we're hockey town, whether you like it or not. We know what we're talking about. But even if people do go and they don't know what they're talking about, like I know a lot of people that were not hockey fans until unfortunately, the shooting, and then just because of the way the Knights embraced our city and helped our city, they didn't give a shit about hockey, and now they're obsessed with hockey too. And yeah, they might not know all the rules, but they still show up because they still want to show that support because the Knights showed us that support.
But in their defense, I don't know any of these people really, but in their defense, it's year 4 now. They know. Like, if you follow, like, you're gonna. Everybody says that Vegas doesn't know what even icing is. Like, they know. You know, we know what icing is.
Like,
I've been watching hockey for a long time too. I used to play hockey, so I loved hockey. So when we got our own hockey team, it's great. And like and that's the one thing I kind of feel bad about the Raiders. Like, the Raiders came here.
Not the same.
Big stadium.
Not the same.
But they'll never. I don't think they'll ever be Vegas's team as much as the Knights. Not that they're not Vegas's team. I still think Vegas people are going to root for them. But the Knights, there's just a different love for the Knights. It's like your first love types.
Yeah.
You know, like there are teams like
they're
our
born
first
here.
team born here,
That
thing
part.
here.
I think it's that part more than
there's
anything.
everything. There's their year 1's here. The shooting, they're the first professional team in Vegas in general. Like, they're just our team,
And they're winning. And they're winning. I mean,
Let
that's
us
just
enjoy the wins. Let us enjoy the wins. Yeah.
and that's just the people. I think people are just jealous because we didn't have to go through the struggles of like, all right, one day our team will be good. You know, like, it's like, oh no, our team is already good, and you can't blame that on the fans or even it's like the people who put together the Knights are geniuses.
They're geniuses, and the teams that gave up those players, that's not our fault.
Yeah.
They were on your chopping block, so what's the issue with us picking
well,
them up?
Seattle's about to have an expansion team. They're going to experience this very similar thing that we did, and they got a really tall order to live up to. They got very high expectations to live up to because if they don't live up to that, then it's either, oh, you guys are a failure, or maybe these Golden Knights are doing something really kind of special these past couple of years.
Yeah, and I mean, like, Pittsburgh, they went with their young goalie and gave us Fleury, and I think that's a big thing that changed a lot of stuff.
Oh, without a doubt.
Fleury showed he still has stuff to play for, especially this year.
Oh my God, he's insane.
Like, we almost lost him too. You would think about that. Like, we almost lost Fleury, and if he didn't stay, where would we be today? Like, we're about to be. There's a very big possibility we go to Stanley Cup. Yeah. So we'll just have to see how that goes. But another topic that's big with mass shootings that I wanted to see your guys' opinion on is gun control. Like, they always use mass shootings. There's so many mass shootings. We need gun control. And then so I want your guys' opinion on that.
I don't know if you want my opinion. Can I be open? This is a free space.
You could be. I don't know. If you're talking about if you're for, I don't know. My shirt, everything is. I'm for.
Yeah.
Oh no. Yeah, no. I am very big into conspiracy theories, and
I think I know what conspiracy theory you're talking about. It's the only one that makes sense to me about the shooting.
Well, not even about our shooting, just in general. They've been trying to push gun control for so long. They've been trying to take our guns for so long and this is I'm not trying to sway anybody either way. Just do your research. In my opinion, the majority of the mass shootings that happen in America are on purpose. They are setups, and they're all an agenda to push that gun control so they can take our guns away. So again, that's a whole nother situation, and everybody just do your own research on that. But I personally have done significant research on that, and that's what I have gathered. For the average person, that sounds crazy. So for the average person, I would just say that these mass shootings are not a reason, technically, really, to push gun control. If anything, it's a reason for us to have guns even more so, because obviously there's crazy people out there.
Yeah.
And I don't agree with them trying to do that. That's enough.
And guns are already around. And with those crazy people, they're going to get their hands on them.
Anybody, you can do all you want to do, but we should have the right to protect ourselves in any situation, in our home or whatever. And I just don't think that using mass shootings, which are very unfortunate events, those are, in the grand scheme of it, yes, it seems like there's a lot of mass shootings, but if you put the grand scheme of the mass shootings compared to the amount of people that actually have a gun, that's a very low percentage.
Yeah.
So I don't think that it's fair that is being pushed as an agenda for the gun control situation.
Yeah, and then the majority of like gun deaths are suicide, and that's like if those people, if they're gonna commit suicide, they're gonna commit suicide,
right? Or domestic.
And the rest is like that, and when those are the reasons why you need like your own self-defense, because people are gonna go and do things. Like technically, the 1 October was the 4th time I actually been shot at. It was just the one mass shooting, and it was way different. There's a difference between being in a bad place at a bad time and, you know, just not in a good, like, just good environment in general and getting shot at. It's scary, but it's different when there's that compared to seeing just people dropping around you, you know? So, one conspiracy theory that I saw, I stay out of conspiracy theories. I don't like it because I'm just like, it doesn't change anything,
right.
You know?
What happened?
Like, what happened. Who's gone is gone. There's nothing that we could do about it. So, focusing on it, like, people are like, oh, what's your opinions on it? Like, why do you think Stephen Paddock did it? Do you think that he did it? Do you think that there's a conspiracy? All this stuff, I'm like, I don't know. But the one conspiracy, like, for mass shootings is, like, who likes country music? The majority conservative Republican people. So how do you scare these people who love guns into going towards gun control? Well, let's just have a mass shooting at a big country festival in, you know, in like the perfect area you could do it with, like you could do the most damage. And so it's like, that makes sense to me. Am I saying that's what happened? No, but if it came out in the future like that's what happened, it wouldn't surprise me.
I haven't been able to dive into actually the conspiracies about the Route 91 shooting just because it's too personal, and I honestly, like, this month just got my head right, or not this month, this year just got my head right to be able, like, if you asked me to do this 6 months ago, I wouldn't have been able to do it.
Yeah, well, that's one of the reasons why I wanted to do it, like, kind of later on.
Yeah.
You know?
But so I just came around kind of to being able to fully talk about it without bawling my eyes out or, you know, getting like sick or emotional or whatever. So I haven't looked into the conspiracies surrounding Route 91 as of yet. I plan to. It's a little bit that I have looked into it. I wouldn't be surprised if it was true, because like I said, I believe in that shit anyways. But I don't know, Sam, what do you think?
I looked into every conspiracy theory and video, and if there is like an expert out there on what happened that night as far as the information that's out there, I assure you I've combed through it with a fine-tooth comb, and I've done way more research on it than I ever should have. And I saw a therapist like 2 or 3 times after it happened, just because my work paid for it, and I was like, well, I'd rather take care of this now than like when I'm 40 or 50 and like I'm having like bad dreams or some shit like that. So I did that, and honestly, a therapist really didn't do anything for me, except for she made me like kind of like realize like let it go kind of thing, like all the stuff that I was holding on to, all the stuff that I was so mad about, not knowing what really happened, not knowing why it happened, just all that stuff. Even if I got the answer, it wasn't going to change what happened at that point. It wasn't good, it wasn't going to make no answer that I would have been given would have been a good enough reason to live through what we lived through. So once I just realized that I just needed to stop digging so much into it and just kind of accept that it happened and just kind of use this as a motivation to live my life in a better way, in a positive way, and that's what I try to do, and that's kind of what I took from it all.
Yeah. And like, I didn't go looking for conspiracy theories either, but when I started writing, like my first writing, like, because I wrote all the poetry and stuff, was like that. Like, I hadn't even been asleep yet. Like, I don't think I even slept till Wednesday. Like, I was like so messed up for days. But I wrote, and then it instantly started getting shared like thousands of times, and I was, so. I just kept doing it because that's how I cope. Like, I write, so I've always liked to write. So a lot of people wanted to meet me. I got to meet a lot of people, and then they have people who weren't there and stuff like that, and they're all curious. So, and everybody else is curious. So they'll come up to me like, "Oh, what do you think about this? Or what do you think about that? Like, or do this?" And, people at work, like, everybody just asks you dumb questions.
Yeah, everybody's very insensitive because if they weren't involved, they don't understand. And they're not trying to be insensitive, most people
I
are
would say
trying.
some are.
Some people are trying to be insensitive, but most people aren't trying to be insensitive. So you just kind of have to, like, I mean, for me, I work on the Strip. I work at a pool. I serve hundreds of people a day. I have a tattoo that I wear my bracelets every day. So people ask me constantly every day, and I shut people down for years whenever they ask me, because I was like, I'm not talking about this, and people would just ask me like dumb shit, and I'm like, I won't talk about it. And then now more recently I've been more open about it, and I'm not afraid to tell people like they're being insensitive if they're asking like some crazy questions. I don't care.
Yeah. Have you been asked dumb questions?
Yeah, but I don't let them get to me. I sort of roll
I'm
off
the
my
same
back. But I remember being at a wedding for some friends or whatever, and somehow it got brought up, and that was the one time where I remember being asked a question. I don't even remember what the question was, but I remember being asked a question and being like, it was kind of a dick move for you to even say something like that.
Right.
But you just move on with life. You know, one thing from, I know you guys said you haven't gone through the conspiracy theories and stuff like that in all the YouTube videos. I realized after anyone, the worst place in the world is the comment section of any video, because it is fucking awful. Like that, that's why I told Ashley when she.
Yeah.
when I thought
Everybody's tough behind these screens.
Oh, everybody, and the shit they say, it's just like, what? Who raised
Outlandish.
you? Right?
Yeah.
Just like how could you even think of that? But that was why when I talked to Ashley about her post, I was like, nothing surprises me anymore. I'm not surprised by any ugly that I hear, because you go to those comments in some of those videos, and it's disgusting. It's ugly.
Yeah.
So
you have to go in there thinking that too, because Eminem dropped that song, that music video, and the song.
I liked it.
Yeah,
I liked the song.
So it got dropped Friday. Like, I forgot the date, but it was a Friday. And I was asked to go on the news to give my thoughts about it.
I think I remember.
Saturday. And they messaged me at like 2 o'clock in the morning. I was like, oh, so what time do you want me to be there? They're like 5:30. And I was like, yeah.
Like, did I even process what I just listened to?
I was like, are you serious? So I go and I do the interview, and if you watched it, it's on YouTube. I was curious, like this recently, like I looked it up, and I was like, oh, and I look so tired. I'm like sitting there, like my eyes are halfway shut, and then I look at the comments. I'm like, this could be bad, because this is not even like this is like me now. And then so a lot of people were actually. Because I wasn't bashing him, I was like, he's an artist, like this is what he does and stuff like that. The only thing I got was there was like, oh, it's a double entendre and he's not talking about that. I'm like, what you guys understand is I had like 2 hours of sleep, and I couldn't, and like a few minutes to explain everything, you know. But I know some people took that like really personal and really hard, and like couldn't listen to the song and hated Eminem for it. And like it's like if you liked Eminem before that and you're mad at him now, remember that he talked about Columbine when it first, like when that, and that was like the first thing that really happened.
Right.
Yeah,
So,
he just talks
and it's
about
like, so you're a fan of him then, but you're not a fan of him now. It's like, it's kind of hypocritical.
Not kind of. It's
So yeah, so
hypocrisy at its finest.
Yeah, I liked that.
But-
I mean, I wasn't mad at that song.
No, I wasn't mad at
I
either.
understood it. I understood where he was coming from. It's his art. Like that's his expression, and that's what he's gonna do. Like
He actually had a song on the album before it came out that he had a line about Route 91 that was way worse. Like the line, it was something like that. Just like comparing himself to Steve, like saying like, oh, I'm a killer, and then comparing himself to Steve. I thought that was in way worse taste
than that whole song.
Than the whole song, right? Exactly. And no one said anything about that. Maybe because it wasn't about the whole song or whatever. I don't know. But no one said anything about that song.
Yeah.
So then, but I remember downloading the song the night it came out, or the CD the night it came out. I was listening to that song and I skipped past it. And then the next day, I'm on Facebook or whatever, and people from Route 91 were like, "Oh my God, I can't believe!" And I was like, "Oh." I went back to it and listened to the song, and like I do remember like my getting goosebumps a little bit, like, oh, he's talking about something kind of near and dear to me. But it wasn't like in the first song though, where he was like glorifying it or saying like this was like he was like.
But he's always done that too.
Right,
Charles Manson, like all that type of stuff.
He was just trying to address the issue, and you could say the issue is the gun control, which maybe Eminem's gotten a little democratic in his later age, whatever.
Yeah.
So it could have been for
sure.
but really I got more from it was the mental aspect of it. Kind of like the popping the pills, popping this, popping that, doing this together. That was like what I took away from it was, he's talking about someone not being in the right mental space, and this is where it's
he's talking about
him. Right.
Like taking shot.
The whole thing was a double entendre. You already said
kill
that.
a show and stuff like that. Like everything was double entendre. And to me, like that's why I like Eminem. He's a genius with his words. I don't like political wise. There's different views, but I'm one of those people like I could disagree with you politically
and still
be
like your
friends
music.
with you.
Right. I agree.
And like still like you, but nowadays there's so much cancel culture.
Well, that's the thing. It's like you should be able to be friends with or have conversations with people that have opposing views without it being ugly or mean or hostile. And it's like you can't do that anymore, and it sucks. But like that song in general, like maybe some of it like hit home and it was a little hard to listen to, but at the end of the day he's an artist and he's been that same artist and he expressed his things the same way for oh my god, how long has he been around? Freaking 20 years more, 20 plus. So it's fine, it is what it is.
Here's something I just thought about too, because we said Stephen Paddock, and a lot of people in like our community do not say that name. Like it's like the forbidden name.
Yeah, you can't.
He's like
say
Voldemort.
Yeah. For real. What do you guys think about that? And what do you guys think about the FTG thing?
Go ahead.
I mean, to each his own. I mean, the same thing to me. The same thing about people that aren't familiar with our situation. But 58 people were lost the night of. We've lost 2 or 3 people since then. So it's gone from 58 to 60. Some people are up in arms that there's some official banners and stuff like that want to change the official number of people that were killed that night from 58 to 60, and some people are up in arms about it, like no 58's all it could ever be. It doesn't, if it doesn't affect you in like a personal everyday level, don't let it get you up in arms about it. It's just not worth it, and that's my opinion. I don't feel either any which way about it.
Yeah, the FTG thing, I mean, like he said, to each their own. Like, I'm not knocking anybody that just will hate him for the rest of his life, and that is what it is. But for me, there's nothing that we could do about it. We could say fuck him all we want.
Yeah.
He's not here, and nothing's gonna change. So to me, I never was behind that situation necessarily. It's shitty. We won't ever have answers, but what's done is done, and we just have to try and heal and move on from there. So,
and I feel the same way. I never personally liked it, just because I feel like you're giving somebody power that you're never going to see the justice after you give him the power. Like, he's gone, so there's no trial, there's no death sentence. Like, he's given them himself. So you can't. There's nothing. What are you waiting for? Like, what are you like? What are you? What are you looking to get from that? So I never personally liked it. People will do it. I don't like judge them for it. I just feel like they would probably be a little bit. I think it would heal them more if they just like kind of let that part go. Like, don't give that name, don't give that person power over you.
Well, don't treat it like Voldemort. I mean, he who shall not be named. Like, come on, Link.
For me, like you mentioned, a lot of people don't even want to say his name. For me, I shared with Sam. I wrote, like, as you touched on to your writing, I wrote like a pretty long poem, and I still really haven't shared it with anybody. I shared it with Sam. I shared it with my boyfriend, and I honestly think that's it. And I wrote it 3 years ago. But I specifically put his name in it, and his name is in the title, and his name is in the poem.
I have the same one too.
For me, that is it's like a healing thing for me. Like, I can't say his name. Like, it is what happened. That is the reality. And I think that you have to accept that, and not saying his name is not gonna, like I said before, it's not gonna change anything. Like, we need to accept it, and we need to heal on from it. And that's kind of honestly also why I haven't, not the only reason I haven't shared my poem, but one of the reasons is because I know that just his name in general brings people so much like pain and grief, and I don't want to cause that for anybody.
I've done it already. You'll be fine. Like, I literally have a poem titled "Dear Stephen Paddock."
That's mine. Mine is "Dear Stephen." That's so funny.
I posted it a long time ago, and it's the one poem that I got like mixed views from and stuff like that. But a lot of people supported me, and this was like shortly after. The reason why I went to church. I go to Central Church out here, And Martin Luther King Jr.'s daughter was there, and she was speaking out, and she was talking about how she hated white people and hated like white men more in general. Like they killed her dad, killed her uncle, and she just thought that white men were bad. But then there was also like a white man who would just like hold open the door for her all the time and stuff like that, and give her hugs, and so she like released that hate. So literally, I left the church. And I wrote a poem called Dear Stephen Paddock. And it's just like, it's pretty much explaining, I don't know you. Never, maybe I seen you in a hotel room or a hotel passing you by. But we don't have no things, but you changed my life forever. But at the end, it literally says, I forgive you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it's just to like, let that go, get that off your chest. And people were like, that's good for you, but I'm not there yet, stuff like that. But that was a long time ago. So if I highly suggest, if you think that if you really do want to share that, you should share it.
Well, I've been very open, I would say, over the last few years about my experiences and like my mental health journey and everything, because I want people to know that it's okay if you're not okay yet. It's okay if you haven't overcome the same hurdles that other people have. Like it takes time. Like for me, like I said before, just this year I just started feeling more like myself. So that's almost 3.5 years that I was in a hole and trying to climb out of it. And for me, I just like with my poem was more about questions that I had for him. Like I asked a bunch of questions. I felt how I felt, but at the end I was like, there will be a day that I will be okay with what happened and I will be back to myself. And like that day is here, and now I feel like I'm ready that I should share it, because like I've had a lot of support over the years with sharing my stuff, and I think it's because people are afraid to be vulnerable, and so people that are vulnerable, they look to them for like a feeling of peace and like to grow,
living vicariously through
or it's just like they're like, oh my god, I'm not alone, like because I'm sharing some deep stuff sometimes, and I'm like, at the end of it, I'm like, it's okay, like if you're struggling still, like you will get through it, like you just have to keep working on it, and you just have to take the time to work on it. And at the end of the day, I always got loads of support from it, not even from people that even aren't involved, just like people on the outside, like dealing with completely different issues. Just the fact that you can be vulnerable and be open, and people can relate to you, it's like a big deal for them, because they're afraid to be like that themselves. So that makes them feel not alone.
I've gotten a lot of support with my writing and a lot of shares, and met a lot of people, and it's our community. Like I've always wondered about other mass shootings and stuff like that, and if they have the same type of bonds, because I feel like ours is like real strong.
It's such a larger scale though too. It's such a,
20,000
you think of like a Columbine shooting, like there's a couple thousand kids there. You think of like the Aurora shooting, there's a couple hundred people. All these shootings, even the one that happened after, was the border, also Parkland and all these ones, like there's nowhere near the magnitude of 20,000 people at these events. So there's just such a bigger size, such a bigger sample size, such a bigger group of people, that it kind of makes this one unique to all the other ones just in that alone.
I wonder how I would like to get, because then I'm actually in the borderline survivor group too, because they brought me into it.
There's a lot of the same people. There is a lot of people that were at both.
Well, I wrote a poem about like being route, like taking the route. Now we're at the borderline, so I kind of use that wordplay, and then so people from borderline read it, so they invited me in, so like that. So I would actually like to hopefully one day sit down with one of them and talk to them too, because I don't know, because like I said, like even with people who were in our situation, I don't. Hey, like,
who's comfortable?
Tell me about your worst day of your life. Like, so, and that's why it's been hard. But with me, I felt like it was easier for me to actually get over Route, because my dad died right before it. So me, I was like, still trying to cope with that. So in a way, that was really hard, because like that's somebody close to me I won't be around. So. Yeah, I think I just lost my GoPro. But so I think that made it easier for me to cope. But almost 4 years now, I feel like a lot of people are in better places. and like that's why I feel like it's easier to do something like this, have sit downs. Hopefully I can do more of these, and maybe even you guys can come back. We can perhaps some more people here, and just even have just bigger group conversations. And I think it'd be cool.
Yeah,
I'd be open to that. And I just want to say that me and Ashley coped with this like two completely different sides.
100%.
Two completely different sides of the spectrum is how we coped with this. And I'm so proud of you from how far that you've come and how. And when I say that she wouldn't come out of the house, I'm not exaggerating. For months, she wasn't coming out of the house, and even for a couple of years, maybe 2 years afterwards, I couldn't get her to. This was my concert buddy. This was this is who I went and did my country shit with, and she just wasn't. She didn't have the same joy in it. I feel like I scared you when I would ask you if you want, like, hey, do you want to go here? And you would just crawl up into a ball type of thing.
Yeah, I honestly, and I love country music with every fiber in my being, and I couldn't listen to country music, not a single second of it, for at least 2 years. Wow, I didn't. I gave it up completely, and that was my whole life. Like Sam said, we were concert buddies. We went to all the concerts. We traveled to go to concerts, like. Country was a huge part of my life.
I've ran into you guys at a few of them.
Yeah.
Because like music is like my, it's everything to me too. So
yeah. So I definitely, I can say I hated it. It was very, very hard for me, and I slowly started coming back around to it.
I think your first concert back that you enjoyed was a Bruno Mars concert, and you called me literally like I think you were still there, like back there. I'm at a concert. I'm having so much fun.
Yeah.
And you're like, screw you.
You want to go? Well, we went. It was like in November. We went to Lee Bryce at the Chelsea. Was it? Do you remember that?
Uh-huh.
And I was not there. Like I was there.
She had to leave.
But I wasn't there, and I left. I left early because they released balloons.
Yep.
And people started popping the balloons, and I sprinted out of the venue.
You and Joey were gone. Yep.
And because I gave it a shot, but even before that happened, like I wasn't mentally there because I was like, this is country, I don't feel comfortable, this is a concert, I don't want to be here. And after that concert, I did not listen to country music, like I said, for 2 years, and it hurt my heart because, like I said, that was like my whole. I love country, and so I'm glad now that I'm at this point where I can sit here and I can talk to you about this, and I can like
plan a country concert.
We're going to Country Thunder, and like we're going to other things, and like.
What about Stagecoach? You guys gonna go Stagecoach?
We'll probably end up going.
Yeah, probably. I got Fan Fest tickets. I got Country Thunder tickets. That was how I approached it. Like while she did the while she I said, hey, I'm not doing any concerts. I was like, I'm going to every concert that I can. I don't even care how much it costs. I don't care if I blow through my savings. I'm going to every single concert that I can because this guy wanted to take this from me. And even, his main goal was to kill me. If he didn't want to kill me or us or whatever, then the goal after that was to cause fear and to make us be scared and to not do the things that we enjoy. And that was my way of saying fuck you to him, was to go and enjoy every single concert I could and live it up the best I could and enjoy life every single day to the max because of, if there's parallel universes somewhere, there's a very real possibility that one of the three of us, if not all three, we're not here. Yeah. Like I consider myself very lucky and I'm very fortunate and I'm very happy both of you guys are here with us too.
Yeah, me too. I looked at it as in I'm born and raised in Vegas, so odds. How many concerts I went to, how many went bad. If I could go play roulette table with those odds, I would win all day. So there's that, and plus like music has always been a healing thing to me. Like literally, right after my dad died, like after his funeral, it was the day of Bash at the Beach, the country Mandalay Bay. And people got upset with me because they're like, "You're literally gonna leave." Like the service is over now; it's just family. And you're literally gonna leave to go to a concert. I'm like, "You handle it the way you handle it, and I'm gonna handle it the way I handle it." And I went to the concert and I cried because it was Cole Swindell and Lee Bryce. And Cole Swindell played "You Should Be Here." Of
course he did.
And then Lee Bryce did the "I Drive Your Truck." So I ended up losing it. And that's the beautiful thing about music is there's someone out there who's experiencing the same thing that you are, and like you could find a song for whatever you're feeling, you know. So I just remember losing it. But I also had a cool thing about Coastal Wendell because it was kind of cold, so nobody was in the water. And I'm like, I'm just rolling up my pant legs, and I get in the water.
Pretty sure I was there.
So I was wearing a Coastal Wendell hat because I've met Coastal Wendell before. So he like kind of pointed down to the water, and like he touched his hat. And I remember like looking at him, like looked around, and like I grabbed my hat and I tipped it off to him, and he like gave me a thumbs up, and I was like, oh, that's cool. He just like acknowledged me while on stage, and so I thought that was pretty cool. But yeah, that's always how I healed it. And I went on to a concert October 15th. It was Evanescence and like an orchestra. So it was Amy Lee and like an orchestra, and it was like I've always thought she had a beautiful voice. So to hear her sing and stuff afterwards, but she was even talking about she almost canceled it because she was scared, and she wasn't even there. So that just shows you how far the spectrum goes, and how many people. Yeah, so exactly. So
and then,
but
I want to kind of just touch on, because for anybody that's going to listen to this, how you said like you went to the concert and you lost it, like. To me, that is beautiful, because that's what I love about music too, is like it doesn't matter like where you are. You can be in your car, you could be out in public, like it can just bring those emotions to the surface, and that's like very fine. That's a good thing. That's a release. It's like the more you hold stuff in, the harder it's going to be for you to cope, and the harder it's going to be for you to process. So the longer or the more that you let that emotion out, like the better, in my opinion.
Yeah. And I don't know if you were you guys at the Stagecoach right after that?
No.
I mean, I know you weren't because of what you were saying.
No, I didn't go to stage. I went to Country Thunder because Jason Aldean was going to be at Country Thunder, so I made it a point to go there instead of Stagecoach that year.
So that Stagecoach, Garth Brooks was there, and he's on stage, and like. During his set, he says, thank you for ever being here. Like 6 months ago, you guys were at something that's very similar to this, and it didn't end well for you. So I wanted to welcome all of you guys to the healing. And I'm with a bunch of survivors, and everybody loses it. And I just get bum rushed with hugs, and now I'm in this big old group hug, and I love Garth Brooks. Garth Brooks is. And even the younger stars, when you see somebody on stage, nobody looks like they belong on stage more than Garth Brooks does. But when he said that, it was beautiful. It was it was crazy for him to do that. And so a lot of people lost it there. And that's the thing. People could just, just couple words and could just change your whole life and just change all your emotions, So
and that's okay.
Yeah.
I'm all for crying in public. I used to be embarrassed. Now I don't care, because it's my healing. And honestly, there's other people that want to do the same thing, and they're afraid how I used to be afraid, and I don't care. You cry, girl. You cry, boy. I don't care who you are. You do it, and it's great.
Yeah.
And I'm with it. It's all part of the healing. So
hey, anything you have to do to heal, do it. That's my advice to people. Just do it. Talk to people.
There's no right way to do it.
Yeah. I kind of feel, I don't know if I'm reading this right, but when you're I kind of talked to a therapist, I feel like you were kind of making it seem like you might be weak if we're talking to. I talked to a therapist, and I want everybody to know it's okay to talk to a therapist. It's okay to need that. It's okay that you did that for whatever reason that you feel like you need to do that. Never feel ashamed for it. I did it. I've helped other people. I've had so many people cry to me about their stories about anything, and been able to talk to them, and talking, and just in general, just communicating and just getting on level with people is a healing thing,
I feel like it's important too. A lot of people don't. We got lucky because we embraced the situation in the sense. Lucky is a stupid term to use, but you know what I mean. We embraced a situation where we met a lot of people that kind of went through the same situation that we did. That's how you and I met. You and I were already there together. I feel like there's a lot of people out there that they really don't have anybody to talk to. Maybe they were at the festival by themselves, or they're at the festival with friends that live 6 hours away or whatever, and they kind of went home. Those are the people that I feel really bad for, because we could all talk to each other. People that get it. We were all there. We could all understand. I think there's people out there that they don't have that. They don't have the outlet of people that were there that get it as well.
Well, this is going to be like a touchy subject, but there's been people out there who this is who I felt bad for too. Not for like the most, but I felt bad for while other people attacked them. Is people who were jealous of how strong of our bond was, that they pretended to be.
I thought it was really weird. I thought it was really weird.
It is really weird, and I think it's
sad
and
too.
it's
It's
messed
sad.
up.
It's sad.
Some of them I feel like had like kind of
Mental issues, yeah, for sure. But it's sad to have to like fabricate it, like
yeah.
And how do I do this without
being insensitive or something?
right? So I feel like there's nothing wrong with this, but I feel like there are some people that embrace the Route 91 situation because it's now they're part of something.
Yeah.
So that's why they bought so much into it, and again, there's nothing wrong with that. However, you got to cope and heal. Like I'm all for it, but that was what I think those people were searching for. They were looking for that somewhere where I belong.
Yeah.
And it was just weird because we all kind of went through this trauma that we were like, we get it, and then you hear someone faking the trauma, and it's like, if you just would have like came in and been like, hey, like I wasn't there, but I fully support you guys, right? Totally different fucking situation.
Yeah, and a couple of these people who have done that, I've actually had conversations where I told them that to them, and they just like were so terrified to be called out that they just kept going with it, and they just blocked everybody.
Yep.
And I felt bad. Like I was just like, just come out and say, if you come out and say that you're going to support Dana, you really were there, but you support it, then I will back you. I promise you, I'll back you. I won't let nobody bash you, but you gotta you gotta
be honest.
There's no need to lie. Like who would lie? Like why? Why lie about such a terrible situation? Like we didn't want to be a part of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I on the other hand of that, I've talked to a lot of people who, how you were mentioning before, they've been on their own. Like they were there, but they don't have anybody around them, and blah blah blah. And like through the events, like my parents host at the pizzeria and stuff, I've met multiple people who like those were some of the first events that they attended, and the first time they've actually met other Route 91 survivors, and so now they feel like 10 times better because they have another community, like that community that they are a part of, but they haven't been a part of it. They were afraid to be a part of it. Now they're in there and they feel comfortable and everything. So
yeah, I like the bond that we all got, and I'm glad you guys are here. I feel like we could keep on talking, but probably wrap it up. I'm glad you guys came here. I appreciate it.
We'll come back.
We'll be here.
Yeah, we'll come back whenever you get a full
I'm
table
down.
or whatever.
We can talk about other things. Hopefully, we'll be talking about some good sports stuff. So
that too.
To the cup.
I would be interested if you got Borderland or Pulse or Parkland or any. I would like to get like a conversation around like with people from different these different but similar situations, and that way we can kind of compare notes for lack of a better term.
Yeah, compare stories and see what it's like. Not compare. I think compare.
Yeah, compare
share.
Yeah, right. Share stories and just the coping mechanisms and the feelings that you got going through it, and then also knowing that you got other people around that.
I definitely have, like, because it took me so long to cope with it and to get to where I am today. Definitely have like pointers and stuff if anybody wants to hear them about like how I did what I did and like the therapy I did and what I did personally and all that stuff. So I'm willing to share that with anybody that needs to hear it, wants the help. So
I'm down to do this again. Thank you guys for coming. I appreciate it.
Danny, thank you again for having us.
Thanks, Danny.
Thank you.
Love you.
Me too.